Okay, how many of you have been associated with a transnational advocacy organization like Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch or Doctors Without Borders or anything like that? How many have been involved in transnational? Okay, just a couple. Fantastic. Good, good. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So, BARD and the Center for Civic Engagement, where Erin and I work, we on a regular basis try to encourage students to engage with the world, with political and other social systems, and to be involved with advocacy locally, nationally, and globally. And we think that your learning is enhanced as you engage with issues locally, nationally, and globally. And there's actually a lot of good data to support that. So we oversee things like engaged liberal arts and science classes, so Erin's and my class is one of those. So not only do you study with us, but you intern with the town supervisor, or the city of Kingston, or the county executive, or the mayor of the village of Red Hook. You study with us, and through that, and what you do helps you understand what you're studying. There's about 25 of those offered each semester in different forms. We also believe that liberal arts and sciences education, which is what you practice here, and which, although it's growing in the globe, is very much rooted in an American phenomenon, and it's growing, although it's also being challenged. I have an article coming out next month, which if you're desperate to learn about that, you can read. That we think that one of the things that BARD can particularly do is to promote rigorous liberal arts and sciences education in places where it is underrepresented or absent. And that explains many of our programs, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It might be at the prison mission, it might be the early colleges, it might be a program in Palestine. Right? Let me talk to you for a second. Erin insists that I'm not frequently authentic, so I'm being told I'm supposed to be authentic. So I'll try to do that. I will say this is interesting. When we spoke last year at this time, we were in the midst of trying to get students out of Afghanistan. And at that time, I think I hadn't slept for about 2 weeks. And at that point, and for the next 2 weeks, we'd gotten a grand total of 0 students out. And it was a very, very difficult time because BARD College's partnered with the American University of Central Asia, the American University of Afghanistan. And we had people we considered to be our students there. And after giving up all hope that the United States left, we managed to figure out a way to get nearly 200 students out of the country, and to bring many of them to the American University of Central Asia in Kyrgyzstan, and then bring others now to the United States, and also attract others to the United States. So last year at this time, I was both sleep deprived and on the verge of breaking down. And although I was very sad last night, I think maybe you might have gone to the event noting the fall of Kabul, I'm at least happy that we've had some positive outcomes in the sense of helping some who get help, although we know it's just a drop in the bucket. But 30 years ago, I went to the Ukraine as a volunteer teacher. Right? So I feel like I choose a lot of difficult places. And I was the first foreign lecturer at a place called Kiev Academy, which had been closed since 1825. So it was closed from 1825 to 1992. And when there was the Russians are after us. You know that we're a threat to the Russian constitutional order? Did you know that? BARD College is a threat to the Russian constitutional order. So a year ago, in addition to trying to work on Afghanistan, we were licking our wounds from being banned in Russia for being a threat to the constitutional order. And it was, yeah, your questions, please, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So the question was, what was the threat to the constitutional order?
What is the constitutional order?
So that's a good question. So the constitutional order is the Russian Constitution, right? And the threat is that liberal arts, and BARD had a partnership with St. Petersburg State University for 25 years. It was the most robust partnership between an American and a Russian institution. And every year we had 60 or 70 Russian students studying here. And every year we had 60 or 70 right there, but what we really did is we created a liberal arts and sciences program. And the core, like, when I say liberal arts and sciences, what do you think of? What do you think of? First word that comes out of your mouth. Yes. Interdisciplinary, great. Yeah. Creative, great. What else? Freedom. Freedom, great. I think I'm glad that President Biden has made hearing aids cheaper to the consumer. Yes. Critical thinking, good answer, good answer. So what was determined was that the method of teaching that we were promoting in Russia was promoting things like critical thinking and freedom. And we were encouraging people to read hostile authors. And therefore, Barb was declared a threat to the constitutional order and banned from Russia. We're right now still the only college or university to be banned from Russia, which is, there's an irony. You know, we have Shostakovich, in some ways we're the most pro-Russian entity in the world, in the sense that we engage with Russia significantly, meaningfully. And people like me who went there 3 times a year for 25 years and have friends who I've known forever, whose kids have grown up together, it was a very difficult moment. But the Russian government decided that liberal arts and sciences education itself represented, because it caused people to question authority, was considered a threat to the constitutional order, and Barb was banned. There's other language that's used, I'm trying to remember the exact nuances, but sadly it's a growing trend. We choose our partners, any of you who might be from Hungary, we're partners with the Central European University, which was kicked out of Hungary. So one of the things we think is really valuable that we try to do is, we work in difficult places. So many colleges and universities work in what my friend Andrew Wachtel calls the Louis Vuitton schools of American abroad. So that's like the American University of Paris, right? Or the American University of Rome. We work with the American University of Afghanistan, or the Al-Quds University, instead of maybe working in Saudi Arabia, or we worked in Russia. And there have been difficult consequences with that. And that's some of the things we're trying to wrestle with. But the interesting thing is, as a consequence of that work, you're often able, and we work in Myanmar, in Burma. As we'll talk about a little bit, one of the consequences of that is that you're able to engage with people from interesting places, which you might not normally meet, either at a conference like that, or in the classroom, or at Klein having lunch. And we think we're in a unique situation for that. So let me ask, or say a couple of other things. And as I'll start local. So I had gone to Ukraine to promote democracy in 1992, being idealistic and naive. And then in 1997, I came here and realized that students were systematically denied the right to vote here in the good US of A. And that's led to a 20-some-year battle for student voting rights, in which students are taking important leads throughout, and for a polling place on campus. So if you're registered to vote, and you're here in November, in this very facility served by Erin Canan, you will get to vote on campus. And as a consequence of our work, not only here, but we got legislation so that at every campus in New York State, if you have 300 or more student voters registered, you can have a polling place on campus. Because it used to be a church about 1.5 miles down the road, in a room about less than a third the size of this. And it's all about the transit of the United States, so that's part of what we're doing. So, I want to talk about the themes about Bard's domestic network and Bard's international network. So, let me skip ahead. Just a couple of little things. We have local focus. We also believe the Center for Civic Engagement and the power of students. So some of the most important things that we do as an institution have been started by students. The Fight for Elections was started by a student group called Save Our Vote. Monica Elkington, who's now returned in Alaska, began that process, and some of you might have attended the panel yesterday on that. Brothers in Bard, which is one of the leading programs in Black male achievement, in the country, was started by Dario Vasquez and Eric Johnson. We both attended the same conference you saw. We had it in Turkey about 7 or 8 years ago. And they've built up a program which is now going regional and national. La Voz, which is the largest Spanish language newspaper in the Hudson Valley, started by a bar student, right, who had an idea, who had a vision. We tried to support that vision, and has since taken on as an institution. So we believe actually that you may have better ideas than we do. And our job, while Marion Health is going to do our best, is to say yes and to encourage you to pursue a vision which we hope to support. And then finally, as a matter of what our thoughts are, is that we think that universities should be civic actors in their own right. So there's a lot of universities who are like, go forth and change the world, right? And we think that our words and deeds correspond as much as possible. That's why, like, one of my happiest moments this year was in reading the Vassar student newspaper, the Williams student newspaper, the students announcing their college leaderships, because they were like, yeah, we think we can't take more than 2 or 3 Afghan students, right? Even though they have endowments worth many times more than Bard. And we try to create a model where we're saying universities should step forward. If its students' rights are being violated for voting, that the university should involve itself in the process and backstop lawyers to defend their rights. If it means working with other institutions to get Afghans out of Afghanistan and to admit them to American universities, that's something that we think that we should do. Right? And so that also animates what we're doing. If we think that prison education is a problem, our prison initiative was also started by a student 22 years ago, right? Which is the largest degree granting prison education program in the United States. Started by a Bard student. I was there when he pitched President Botstein. And that has transformed the nature of education of incarcerated individuals in the United States since then. So that's where we come. So now we come to Bard. So some questions. How many students, if you're a PC, you can answer this. If you're, how many students do you think are taking Bard classes this year? Yeah. How many students do you think are taking Bard classes this year?
I
300 students. There's more first years than that. There's 1,800 here, right? Okay, so that's one answer, but not quite. It's a good start. Gives us momentum. Yeah. Yes.
2,500.
2,500. Good answer, but not right. Yeah. 6,000. Even better answer, but still not right. Still a little low. Yeah. Still better answer, still low. Getting closer. 8,500, probably 9,000 this year, we'll know exactly. All right? In how many places do you think language, you know this program is a program called Language and Thinking, are you familiar with it? Yeah? Your teachers are like groaning because they're like, like Aaron and I teach an OSIN class, like with students from around the world. We have students from like 9 different countries in our class. And at the end we're like, did you enjoy the OSIN class? They're like, what's OSIN? Oh my God. All right, so language and thinking. You know there's a thing called language and thinking. How many locations around the globe do you think language and thinking is being taught? 10. 4 and 10. Between 4 and 10, both even put together, that's too low. 25 is exactly right. Yes. The person who wants to go to Australia gets one step closer by getting that right, and they could have been forever. So where is that? Let's see if I can get it. It's in Bard and Annandale. So we call this Bard and Annandale. You guys call it Bard, we call it Bard and Annandale. A lot of places around the world are called Bard. And now Goods Bard, they call it Bard, right? Even though it's on, East Jerusalem. All right, so let's see if Erin's going to count. She's good at that, right? Annandale, Simon's Rock, right? We have, international ones, Berlin, okay, help me out here. Okay, Berlin, where else we got? Bishkek, American University of Central Asia, fantastic. What? Iran, no, that's not us. No. We like them, they're friends, but they don't do language and thinking. You don't do first year seminar, you don't do language and thinking, but you should. You should. And they will soon, I think, actually. Maybe Ian's done it already because it's run by somebody who used to work at Bard. So. They're doing it? Okay.
26.
Disqualify me, 26. Okay. American people say, thank you, they're doing it. I didn't even know that. That's great. So where else might we be doing it? Greece.
Say it louder. Manhattan.
Manhattan, Bard High School, Early College in Manhattan. Correct. Good answer. Did you go to Bard High School, Early College in Manhattan?
I did.
You didn't, but you've heard of it.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
You did. Okay. It's a trick question. It's like yes or no. You know. It's like I hope you haven't seen. Was it? Yes, exactly. It's like Monty Python, the trick question. All right. So just to help out, so we have Alfred's Bard. That's the other one internationally. Two others internationally: Parana University, which is an exile university in Myanmar, right, Burma, and the Open Science University hubs located in Kenya, in Kakuma refugee camp. Then in the United States, we have Bard High School Early Colleges, of which there are 8. So in addition to Manhattan, I'm going to get some of them wrong. Yeah, we got a bunch of New Orleans, Queens, Cleveland, Hudson,
Baltimore.
New Orleans, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Newark. I think I got them all. Then there are, I think I did sign the director every time. That was like the second one I did. No. And then we have 3 micro colleges in Harlem. People have heard of Harlem?
Yeah.
Brooklyn. People have heard of Brooklyn. Excellent. And in Holyoke, Massachusetts. And then in 7 prisons. Right. So I guess it's a 26. Thank you. I'm gonna send Ian Bickford, the president of American Museum, I'm gonna send a note thanking him for starting language and thinking. So that gives a sense of where we are in the world. Now, and Bard sort of has tried to act by some of the principles we spoke about before. It's great that we have, we think we have many Afghan students here. In 1956, we welcomed 300 Hungarian students here after the Soviet invasion of Hungary. When Chinua Achebe, who many of you might have read in high school or on your own, was in an car accident, was paralyzed, he came here to teach for nearly 20 years. We've had refugee teachers from Eastern Europe and former Soviet space and Africa, going back 30 to 40 years. So this is part of a continuum. We had refugee scholars in the Civil War. It's a continuum of what Bard is trying to do. Which leads me to the Open Society University Network. So we have this national network of things in which we're operating, and then we have a global network, which we're going to talk a little bit more about now. And our student panelists are going to take over. Is that the Open Society University Network consists of 43 institutions around the world, students from there, and they offer many opportunities. We speak of transnational advocacy because the advocacy is in favor of liberal arts and sciences, which is about student-centered learning, which is about student choice in the curriculum and what they're doing, and student voice in promoting critical thinking, part of a system of education. So that's one of the core things we're advocating. We advocate for academic freedom, right? Freedom of expression. We advocate for a notion of open society, that is, we hope that students can live in a society in which they can operate and function relatively freely. And it develops in different ways, different and interesting ways. I think I'm going to pause, and we're going to go to Aaron, and then the students so you can talk about the specific opportunities, and then we'll have the students.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to
All right. I'm actually just going to put, so this is a picture of where the Open Society University Network is located. You can see there's about, we have about 43 partners now, right? Right? Yeah. It was 40 just a couple months ago, so now we're at 43. And this is a quick definition. Anybody interested in helping me read this? Because I know this is partly what you do, right, with text? Anybody want to read it for me? Okay.
The Open Society University Network is a global partnership of educational institutions that integrates learning and the advancement of knowledge in the social sciences, the humanities, the sciences, and the arts on undergraduate and graduate levels, across geographic and demographic boundaries, promotes civic engagement on behalf of open societies, and expands access to higher education for underserved communities.
Very nice. So what do you think that means? Does that get manifested? If you were writing something that had that as a mission statement, what would you do? Yeah?
Sort of have a bunch of different skills that students and different schools that other than their own could still be part of an interactive community as a student in their schools, so not having to apply on a separate.
So not having to apply, but somehow having some kind of communication or classes?
Yeah.
Would you, some kind of classes? Interactive classes? Classes where you could actually go to someone else's campus?
Yeah, and it's probably also something like an option like
Right. So we have both of those things. So we have online classes, OSINT classes, and then we also have classes where you can, we have mobility, so where you can study abroad or where you can study in a more condensed way. We also have conferences and events in which you can meet and learn with students, because our notion of what a class and where we learn and what a campus is and should be is stretched by this particular definition. What else? What other kinds of things, yeah?
I'd probably make it affordable
Affordable.
or not cost money at all, which requires money from someone else, but
Yeah. So funders that support that kind of access so that it's not limited on who can afford to do it. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I'm going to actually turn the floor over to our students who have all taken part in some kind of OSIN event or opportunity, and it meets all of these parameters that you would begin to set up if you were trying to do what OSIN is trying to do. And we're not just trying to do that for Annandale students, we're trying to do this for students on all of the OSIN campuses. So integrating curriculum, integrating classes, integrating events, calendars, all those complicated things once you dig into them as part of what we're trying to accomplish. And we started in January of 2020, so about 6 weeks before the big shutdown is when we launched OSIN. So that conference was one of the first things that we were able to do in person. So a lot of this, what we were originally talking about doing things online, is part of how we started. I'll let you go.
So I want you to talk a little bit about some of your interactions with
Hi everybody. Previously my name is Yazir Advocacy, as I've mentioned before. I've been able to participate in OSIN through OSIN summer courses. My first exposure into OSIN was through a class we was taught by both Aaron, Jeanette, and Becker. Get Engaged course was over the summer of 2020, during the height of the pandemic. In that class, I got my first exposure to just meeting people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and these classes are all online, and most of them are partially or fully funded through the OSIN scholarships. Pretty much I was able to take the class without worrying about any costs associated with it. Then I've also had the opportunity of studying abroad with the Central European University, which is one of the OSIN partners. So I was, during my fall 2021 semester, I was up in Austria, Vienna. They recently just moved from Budapest. So I was up there in Vienna taking graduate level courses. I took courses including transnational migration, introduction to development, international political economy, and historical context. Just being able to be within the area, being away from bar, yet still having that bar community around. Yeah.
Again, my name is Simone. My experience was a little bit different than Yazir. I didn't get to study abroad, but I did get to meet people abroad. I went on the Get Engaged 2022 trip this summer to Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, and it was an amazing experience, not only to be able to present a project that I work on at BARD, but to learn from other people. Y'all already know the statistics of how many people were there from different places, but pretty much everyone there was involved in something, whether it was being a global fellow with OSIN, or whether it was a part of the Global Commons, which is like, somebody else can explain what Global Commons is. It's a lot of, digital newspaper basically. I feel like that's not a good enough explanation, for the gravity of the things that they do. But whether it was that or whether it was projects that other people were working on in their own communities, there was just a lot to learn, a lot to be involved in, and not only that, it was free, which was great, getting free things is always fun. So being a part of that experience was just like eye-opening for me. Something I talked about with Erin over the trip a lot was just sometimes, I feel like especially for Americans, when you're in the American bubble, you don't really think about anything else outside of where you are because your experience is America. So to be able to leave the country and not only leave it to, vacation or whatever, but to actually learn from other people who are from other places is a truly valuable experience. So yeah.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Once again, my name is Naseem and I was with you all today. So my experience with OSIN was a bit different than my two colleagues. So I first heard about OSIN courses from my previous institution where they offered different courses which was all free for us. And it was mostly taught to us during our summer courses, which is online. And I never thought that I would work for OSIN someday. So after, I'm thankful to Bard College that they gave me the opportunity to be here with you guys. And currently I'm working as an intern for the OSIN network. And my first task was to arrange a Get Engaged conference, which happened at Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. So we had around above 100 or 200 participants where they learned a lot about their leadership skills. The conference was mostly about to engage students in knowing their skills, their leadership skills. And it was really amazing to see that after the conference, since I was working on the files, the reports and currently I'm writing a report on the conference. So it was amazing to see that a lot of students, as they rated themselves after the conference, how would they think of getting engaged in their community problems and solving and serving the community. It was amazing to see that most of them, they really learned something from this conference, and it built up their leadership skills, and they made a lot of friendships, they made a lot of international friends through this conference. And at current, I would love to work for OSIN, and I think that if you want to know more about OSIN, so here I am. I'm going to provide some more information. Thank you.
Let me say something. So one of the cool things is that the class you took this summer wanted to get engaged in this conference in Kyrgyzstan. We got to see students who had been together in a virtual classroom. So we know you hate online learning probably. What we try to do though is offer opportunities where either we call these, one thing is called a network collaborative class. That is a class that is taught in person here, and then 5 or 6 times throughout the semester you're linking with another class or group of classes abroad. So you're talking with them online. Or what Erin and I do, we do this online class where we have people, we know people don't like online learning. However, when you have people from the American University of Afghanistan, the University of Kiskia, or University of Svanestrand in South Africa, or Brock University of Bangladesh, all studying together synchronously, that is at the same time, people have, which is what Nazir did, they found that it was really interesting because you're trying to contextualize the issues you're learning, which might be about global citizenship or civic engagement or what have you, in studying with people together, and in creating exercise in which people were able to talk with each other. And what was super cool for us this summer was, I think 12 or 13 students we had taught previously were also at the conference. They got to meet each other for the first time. That was a really exciting thing to see.
And I guess it just, I guess even from a student's perspective, I actually had the opportunity of taking one course this past summer. It was the Women in the Pandemic. It was taught by a bar professor here, but we had students from different areas, from Bishkek, we have from Shesh University, we're just from different areas. But I wanted to just point it out, it's not a regular online class. Like, this is a class where I woke up at 5 a.m. on Monday, Thursday, and Fridays, but it was still beautiful. It was still really amazing, like different perspectives. The name of the course is The Women in the Pandemic. We learned about the impact of the pandemic through a gender lens, and that was like really, really beautiful. Just learn about the different perspectives, not only about learning from like what's going on within your own bubble, but also different other people's bubble. And that was like really, really amazing, you know, just hearing about their perspective, working in group projects with each other. Despite the fact that anytime you have to schedule something, it's always pretty hectic, thinking about time zones. But overall, I would say like it's a really, really amazing type of course to take because you're just having different perspectives, different cultures, different vibes into the table. So like you're having this pretty unique, it's just unique thought in terms of like thinking about a certain concept or a certain situation. I think that's really beneficial.
I just wanted to ask, we asked these questions of the PCs and we also asked the question yesterday, what do you think makes a good BARD citizen, you know, as in the terms of sort of community member and not legal terms, and then what makes a global citizen? And we talk about when this is the rhetoric we hear a lot in the US and other places, that when students graduate, we want them to graduate to be global citizens. And I'm not really, we're always noodling around about what that means. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you've mentioned that your perspectives have changed or that you're breaking various bubbles. But can you talk maybe about how that perspective has changed and how you think it's making you reconsider what it means to be a global citizen?
That's an interesting question. One thing I would say is before taking an OSIN course, we're having that first exposure into like the BARD bubble. Something that you're probably gonna get used to a lot is the BARD bubble being within BARD Annandale. And I guess that's just being stuck with the affairs of being a BARD citizen or being a citizen within this space, just like being aware and being involved within things going on within your area. But one thing that BARD tends to enforce now is like, okay, let's go beyond BARD Annandale. Let's see how we can connect students with other organizations, other universities within different areas. That's why OSIN came about. We have like that network to be more aware and just be involved within like situations the nation's going. Situations or issues are just going to learn about different things within different other spaces, not just only from BARD Annandale. So through this courses, like now I'm more involved with like knowing more things about like, okay, this is a perspective going on from a student in Bishkek or a student in Ghana, that's really beneficial. And also going to that space as well and seeing like what's going on over in that space. I think that's really beneficial. You're more aware and more involved in what's going on within other areas except for your own bubble.
I think definitely completely agree with what Yasir said. In addition to that, the world feels really big when you don't know things about the other places you have never been to. And I think that this opportunity helped the world feel smaller to me. Like, it feels more accessible. You know, I met people from Ashesi in Ghana, and I met people from Kenya, and I met people from Pakistan, and, you know, all these different places, and like, these are places that, you know, even Bishkek, like I would have never gone to Bishkek on my own. I didn't even know that Kyrgyzstan existed, honestly. Actually, I mean, I did. One of my friends from here is from Kyrgyzstan, but before that, I didn't know that that country existed. But I would have never gone there on my own. And I think that, like, for me, travel or like going abroad and like learning things has always felt really inaccessible, or it's felt really far away. But I think this opportunity for me was just like, okay, actually, you know, these things are a lot closer. It doesn't even have to be like going somewhere to learn something. It's interacting with people that can really make that difference and like help you to learn more. And I think that it was really helpful with the space that I work. I run a space currently on campus that's for students of color, and it helped me to open my horizons and like my eyes that, you know, being a person of color expands just beyond what the American meaning is. you know, how does that expand to different cultures and different countries, and how can we, as like students of color, come together in a different way that, you know, goes beyond the American borders. Like, how do we do that in, you know, when it comes to different nationalities or different ethnicities, and, you know, things that can make others feel more comfortable. So, you know, kind of moving outside of myself and my own perspective, and, you know, trying to understand other people's perspectives and utilizing that and building a better community. I guess that's, you know, kind of that global citizenship coming into play.
So my idea of being a global citizen is similar to my colleague, as she mentioned that working for the community and interacting with different nationalities, it's not just about you think about your own community and your own problem, but you need to see the world in one view, and you need to see that what others are going through and what you all can do in terms of a community as a whole for the betterment of the world. Thank you.
Thanks. I think we forgot the most important thing, which is good to see Erin sing karaoke. It's really,
It was really great. If you've
important.
ever seen Erin sing karaoke or dance, she danced so much on this trip. It was a great experience. I have a lot of videos, so if you want to see something, come see me afterward.
The other thing is, so we try to create matches with institutions which aren't intuitively obvious matches. So we have a partnership, for example, with West Point, where students get together in classes. We have debates in this room between West Point students and art students, and amongst them on issues like, you know, human rights issues or issues related to preventative war, which are pretty interesting. And some of the same principles, like in tying this idea of network classes to elections, we're in the fall of next year, it's highly probable that we'll have a class with Tuskegee University and with University of North Carolina A&T. Those are two historically black colleges and universities who, together with Bard, and maybe Prairie UNM, by the way, a third one, are known for being involved in litigation over voting rights. So the two most important voting rights cases in recent times related to student voting, they've happened at North Carolina A&T and at Bard and Annandale. Previously at Tuskegee, which is an OSIN partner, those people together with Simone in Bishkek, they had a super important court case related to gerrymandering, and Prairie View had a case related, the most important, or the only actually Supreme Court case about the 26th Amendment, which is lowering the voting age of student voters from 21 to 18. So in that case, next fall we'll offer a class where the class will be offered in parallel here and at Tuskegee and at North Carolina A&T, and you'll come together 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times in the semester to talk to the students from there and learn about what's going on. It's some great people. Jelani Favors from North Carolina A&T, who wrote an amazing book on the history of historically black colleges and universities in the United States, will be one of the teachers. And it'll be really, I mean, we think, again, the opportunity to be exposed to people of different ideas, different places, different experiences is what education is about. And we try to find opportunities for that within various places.
Yeah, there you go. So a couple of other things I just want to point out. There are a couple of fall opportunities where you can do conferences online with some students through the Learning to Lead conference. And there's some fellowships and jobs you can actually get through the climate, if you're interested in climate, if you're interested in media relations, things like that. But one of the things I'm wanting to find out about from you all is what kinds of things did you imagine doing internationally when you came to BART, or was this part of your perspective at all when you applied? Something that you thought about at all?
I don't know if this is possible, but I'm really interested in going to the place in Italy where my grandparents.
Interesting. For research?
Yeah, to make some, I'm interested in doing some sort of like arts-based like project, explore like that kind of
Amazing. We do have funding to support engaged research and engaged senior projects. So depending on how that trajectory goes, amazing. What other kinds of things did you imagine? Did you hear about any of these programs before you applied to BARD? What kinds of things did you hear about?
I heard about
I heard about the program in Kyrgyzstan, and it sounded really interesting to me because it's a place that I know nothing about. And I don't know what kind of, are there like classes you can take there? I would be interested, I think, in taking like arts classes in a country that I'm really unfamiliar with.
Amazing. We do have an initiative in Kingston that we're hoping to get off the ground this fall. Cicely Wilson is working on that, and it's actually arts-based work in Kingston. And then one of the things you can do is present that work at conferences or work internationally with other students on these other campuses. Other things that you knew about before coming to BARD, or things that you're interested in?
I was very interested in doing the BARD Rockefeller semester. So, yeah.
Amazing. So we have a lot around the science as well. John, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we have two major programs. By the time you're juniors, this will be a third major program. So in New York City, we have the BARD Globalization and International Affairs program, which is a program in which you do internships during the day at some of the organizations, like I mentioned, like at Human Rights Watch or at the Carnegie Council or the Council on Foreign Relations, and then take classes at night focusing on international affairs. And we also are the only undergraduate institution with a partnership with Rockefeller University, which specializes in the sciences. And at Rockefeller University, you work in the labs during the day, and you're taking some classes. We offer a class in global public health, for example, at the BGI location, which you can take at night. What's special about these is you have really robust internships. The lab experience at Rockefeller or through BGIA, you're working 20, 25, 30 hours a week, and really being treated like a pre-professional. It's pretty likely that in Brooklyn and Williamsburg we'll be opening up a variety of courses which will extend that beyond international affairs and the sciences, to have programs also in all the BARD divisions, so the arts, languages and literature, social studies is spoken forward, and more in the sciences. So we see the opportunity to study and live in New York for a semester away as another sort of step in the opportunities that we have for students to expand their horizons, and in some cases to get a pre-professional experience of a unique quality. The BGIA program, the Global International Affairs program, has been running since September 2001, so it's a very interesting beginning for us. And when you talk to students from there, as they describe their BARD careers and how it's shaped them in their own personal careers, it shaped them in unique ways, just as the Rockefeller program has. Those are really important opportunities.
Anybody else?
I'm interested in learning how to get involved in the prison initiative.
Great. So there's some good news and bad news things. The prison initiative is located in Montgomery Place, right? And to be in the prison's property, you have to be 21. That's a New York State rule. But they do have operations which are outside of the prison, which is support, right? Helping gather research and other types of activities. The debate team. One of the great things, one of the things we do globally is we have this global debate network. So you're debating with people around, just as we debate with West Point here, which has been pretty fascinating. But our prison debate team is very celebrated. They beat Harvard very famously in a debate. And that wasn't just good because you always like to beat Harvard. It was good because it actually helped change the conversation about incarcerated individuals in the United States. Right? What's the worth of someone who's incarcerated? Right? Are they worthy of future opportunities? And I think one of the exciting things we've done, the BARD Prison Initiative, begun by our BARD student, or BARD students, Max Kenner and Chinta Kanti Cook, that has actually helped shape public policy in the United States so that the government, which under Bill Clinton took away support for prison education, federal support for prison education, has been reinstituted now. If I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, and shockingly, maybe here, I would say that the one good thing that happened under the Trump presidency was restoring Pell Grants to incarcerated individuals so they can study. And that's in part a product of the work of our prison initiative, as is restoring grants. So you can work there. I would say the TLS programs, though, also has programs which are more accessible to people who are in juvenile facilities in the local area, right? So the Trustee Leader Scholar Program has numerous opportunities. The bar prison initiative, because of the constraints of the state, are so high that the opportunities there are a little fewer before you're 21, but there are other venues in which to get access to people in somewhat similar circumstances through the Trustee Leader Scholar Program, which is just upstairs in this building. And we have, I think through the Trustee Leader Scholar Program, if you take the leaders and the students involved, probably 400 to 500 students each semester or each year are involved in programs associated with those. Which has been going on for a long time. And the Prison Initiative against the Trustee Scholar Program, the Bar Early College in New Orleans begins that. La Voz newspaper I told you about, which is the largest Spanish language newspaper in the Hudson Valley, began as that. Brothers at Bar began as that. Sister to Sister began as that. So it's a great incubation area for other programs in which you can participate. I hope that answers the question. You can stay seated to show that. So I think folks had a question, things that they were thinking about with Yeah, there you go.
So I'm curious regarding the credits from Awesome, because personally I had class until fall 2021, but I'm not sure about the credit, and besides that I want to know like how the internship would work with Awesome program.
So I think that's two questions. So one of them is credits. So you should get credits for all OSINT programs. If you haven't, you should let us know. It should appear in your transcript. So if we listed the course here, right, you should get the credit for that. And if you haven't seen me afterwards, then we'll make sure you get that, okay? So any course, so sometimes not only can you take a course which say like Aaron and I teach, which has students like last semester we had people from 8 different institutions. You could also take a class with someone, say, from the Central European University of Budapest or the American University of Central Asia. And those courses, just like if you study away, will count towards your bar degree. The same thing in summer as we heard earlier. The other one was about internships, I think, and many different programs that we run have internships. They Institute for International Liberal Education, so there's 2 gatehouses on campus. One of them is by the Performing Arts Center, which is this way, if I have my directions correct. That's the building which looks like a castle. That's where Caitlin and Cicely and Aaron and I work, right? And then there's a gatehouse just over there in Blythewood Road, and that one over there, they talk about study away programs. So some study away programs have internship opportunities embedded in them, and other ones don't. The BGIA program I mentioned does, Barber Berlin has some, and I would say in addition to that, the Center for Civic Engagement offers Community Action Awards, which are many opportunities for students to get support to do internships over the summer. I will say this summer, ironically, we've had some excellent interns, and we were actually looking for people to be interns. It was fairly, we had more interns than we had people, which I found very unusual given our past experience, but we've learned something about you. I actually have, believe it or not, children who are more or less your age who are in university right now, and the rumor has it that you guys are like the least engaged people ever, but we've discovered something different. People who come here are super engaged, so we think your class is going to turn the tide on engagement, and because we see more enthusiasm for a lot of these programs than we have. We understand the pandemic has made things a little difficult, but all of these opportunities we know will not go wanting. There will be great opportunities for people, and we anticipate you all taking advantage of them.
This isn't an OSINT specific question, but you seem to know a lot about the population of the bar, and I haven't gotten a chance to ask this question. For those of us who are over 21, I know we are in the minority as for the student population, But when it comes to the pandemic and like having missed years of school for various reasons, like I just wanted to know when the other students come in, like, are we gonna feel as lonely as we might feel right now, basically?
I'll tell you something about Barbara. I'm gonna let Erin answer because we have dirty secrets, really. Erin used to be the vice president for student affairs, so she knows about things like that. So I'm gonna let, maybe you want to answer that now. You want my answer, you want me, because I'll give a bad answer, right? First of all, I think we'll be more vibrant here, right? And I would encourage you, one of the reasons we want to reach out to you is to help you find communities with which you will feel comfortable on campus. The upper class people will add to the dynamism and add to opportunities. Student clubs will get going, right? There's a lot of student clubs on campus. Activities will increase. These volunteer opportunities we're talking about, because you're in LNT, so you're supposed to be studying 50 hours a day, right? Meeting people, being oriented to things. Things will go at a more deliberate pace. You'll be in classes on a regular basis with different, like, one of the great things about LNT is you have the same class all the time, so you can love everyone, but if you don't love everyone, it's not a great thing. So, sorry, LNT groups, I'm sure all of us really well, but you have a more diverse array of experiences that go on here. So we think that at least my experience here, is that the entry of upper class people enhances opportunities for you to find the niches in which you're interested. But much better people to answer this than even Erin and I. Erin's going to answer it first, and she'll speak with much more professional experience, but then we'll have the students answer that.
I got it. I would say transitions are hard, and I would say I have two children who are about the same age, 15 to 25, that have to go through
Different children.
Different children. That we have just witnessed a lot of transitions, and transitions are really hard, and the normal trajectories have been interrupted. And mourning the loss of what was going to be is sometimes, especially if you kind of remain healthy and things are relatively okay, can be a kind of loss that you don't get to actually experience or express. And I think part of what coming to college is about is it can expose a loneliness. I don't actually think it's necessarily the best years of your life. That would be kind of sad if they ended at 21. But I think that there is a moment where you can connect and reach out and learn how to be in a community, because it doesn't, like, as you get older, it gets harder to actually connect with people. So connecting during this time is a good way to create a baseline and to reach out, even to take the risk to do that. And civic engagement, one of the reasons why I got involved was because as the Dean of Students, I felt like people didn't see me as anything other than like a disciplinarian, and I really just wanted to help people feel okay. And so civic engagement, there's a lot connected between doing civic engagement work, doing community work, and countering depression, anxiety, and drug use and alcohol use in college students. There's a lot of data there. So the background is that getting involved in community can help with that, can mitigate the impacts of that. But I think everybody is really, all of us are experiencing kind of mourning a loss and trying to figure out what does it mean to come into this new normal. And I thank you for the question, because it's very, I think it's on a lot of people's minds, but I don't know how willing people are to put it out there. And there will be older students, and there will be opportunities, but it does take a level of vulnerability and reaching out, because otherwise people don't know. And I think that's really important for you all to know that there's people here who genuinely care about what happens. And so I'm going to turn over to the students to also respond about the experiences that they've had. Plus we've got some student leaders here.
Yeah, okay. So firstly, I want to thank you for asking that question. I feel like it's hard to ask something like that in a space like this. But I appreciate you asking. I'm 21, so we can be friends if you want to. I'm only here for a year, but I have a lot of connections and other people that I know. But I think that in my personal experience at Bard, I think that you came at the perfect time. It may not feel like it, but in the past couple of years, it's been really hard to be here. The pandemic has made it really difficult to survive. At Bard, it's very isolating. I don't come from a rural area. I live closer to the inner city area, more in the suburbs. So I'm used to being around a lot of people, used to being able to go anywhere. You know, there's a mall down the road that actually has stores in it that are not closed down, you know, that type of thing. So it's been difficult, but I think that we are coming to the point now where the Bard population is kind of turning over, where as we find our new normal, that people are wanting to be like craving interactions with others. Currently, the interactions you're having are with people who are younger than you, which is not a bad thing. But I think that I can understand, like, you know, wanting people who are older and a different mindset and have experienced life in a different way than you have. So, like I said, I'm down to be friends. If you want to come talk to me after, you can, and that goes for anybody in the room. Also, I'm working from 9 to 5 in the student activities office upstairs. So if after you're done with LNT at 3:30 or whatever, if you want to come and talk to somebody or during your lunch or something like that, I'm down to talk to anyone. But I appreciate you asking that question, and I think, yes, your experience will change. It's just going to take a little bit of time as people come out of their shells after, you know, being at Bard and kind of having to feel like we're hiding. But I think last semester is a testament to, and even just these past couple of weeks, when Jonathan says that y'all are very engaged, y'all are so engaged. Like, I have not been used to people actually showing up to things in like high numbers in a very long time, and to see that in a group of like 300 students or however many of you there are, that many people is a telltale sign that things will continue to get better.
Okay, so you can ask us any question about OSUN or BARD because we've been here. Erin has been here 28 years. 28 years. It's hard to imagine. She came here in diapers, and I've been here 25 years, so you know a lot about various things. But if you have any other things that you might be interested in participating at BARD, either locally, nationally, or globally, or any other questions from us, yeah, let me get you the microphone.
If so much of OSIN programs are free, where does the money come from?
The Open Society Foundations, who just funded by George Soros. So George Soros is a Hungarian-born philanthropist who has donated, I don't know, the total is maybe $30 billion over the last few decades. I used to work for George Soros before I came to BARD. And he's like demonized. I don't know if you've ever followed right-wing social media. He's considered the devil. He's been incredibly generous. So where did George Soros begin? He began by sending photocopier machines to Hungary and Czechoslovakia, and sending support to anti-apartheid activists in South Africa. And he believes in a concept called open society, which is a free, articulation of ideas, and has done a number of things. When Sarajevo in former Yugoslavia was under siege, he individually underwrote bringing water there. When Chechnya was being bombed, he was trying to support people in Grozny, and he's been very active in a variety of things, from decriminalization and legalization of drugs to supporting liberal arts and science education globally. There's an interesting thing that I hear. Sometimes we get asked, does George Soros tell Bard College what to do, because we get support from him? And in our view, it's actually quite the opposite. Liberal arts education, prison education, early college education were not on the Open Society Foundation's list agenda until Bard College put them on the agenda. So rather than us being shaped by another party's ideas of what should happen, we've helped shape the agendas that they do, the Open Society University Network because I worked on it for about 20 years before it was launched, and I didn't believe it was going to be. I was like Charlie Brown with the football. Like 3 different times we thought it was going to happen, and never did. And finally, of course, it had to be 2020. In January, I got a call a week before it was announced that he was going to provide $1 billion for this organization, that he would do that, and announced it at Davos January 23rd, 2020. And a lot of what shaped the philosophy of the Open Society University Network was things that Bard College had done. We already had a network of partner institutions in Kyrgyzstan, and Russia, and Lithuania, and Palestine, and Berlin. And we did things like prison education and early college education, and he believed that these things were meritorious. And he's a very interesting person. One of the things I really value about him most is that he doesn't care who's saying something, he believes in the power of ideas. So as a very young person, I was sat next to him at a very young meeting, like 28, old for you. I was sat next to him in a meeting in which everyone wanted to defund a program I was heading. And he listened to the arguments that went made of his senior foundational leaders and me, and he sided with me and gave the money for the program. So someone who's willing to think their own way is very impressive. So if you read about him in the media, especially many of the anti-Semitic tropes that are out there, don't believe them. It's also the case that Bard has helped shape the agenda of foundation that he's heading. He's only now 92 years old, he's a little bit old there. And that has been beneficial for Bard students, and that's where many of the resources come from. And we're happy because we worked for a long time, we were frustrated about accessibility issues for Bard students, and that's why when people can go to a conference, for example, in Kyrgyzstan, and we can support that, or participate in cheap or reduced summer courses, which allow them to accumulate credits, that if they could do that, we consider it beneficial for Bard students.
This is related to what you said about how the Bard institution is seen as a threat to the Russian constitution. Are Bard students seen in the same light?
That's a complicated question. We hope not. That's my honest answer. I don't think so. We have had Bard professors and Bard students go to Russia since then. A Bard leader like me, I used to fly through Russia all the time. I don't go to Russia anymore. I don't want to end up like Brittany Griner, so I've been advised not to do that. The same with the president and some other people. But we still celebrate Russian culture. We celebrate Russian students. We have music festivals devoted to that. We hope someday that can be reversed. It was very frustrating for us. So we see this precursor to what happened in Ukraine. We hope for a better time. And this is, again, it's this paradox because we had the most significant partnership for 25 years between an American and Russian institution. We have numerous Russian students here, numerous Americans there, and it's a sad point. So we hope that the tide will turn, but you should seek advice from us before you go to Russia, just not things that we would advise you to do.
Hello. I wanted to pose a question to our student panel about maybe a little bit about what your projects are, but mostly how, from the student point of view, how you got involved, how you started it, how you managed it.
Okay, so I'm involved in too many things on campus, so I will talk about some of the things that I do. The project that I went to Bishkek for is Gilson Place, which is a space on campus that if you're inside of Klein and you're sitting in that large dining area, there's a White House on the far left corner across from the Klein Field, and that's called Gilson Place. And so that's a space on campus that's meant to be a safe space for students of color from any background, and just somewhere to hang, to exist, to and then, in the future, hopefully, we plan to do more like academic things, bringing in speakers and stuff like that, just kind of advancing the community of color here because it can be very isolating being at a PWI. So with that one, how I got involved, one of my friends was one of the people that helped to bring the space into existence, and they basically were like, there's this opportunity, do you want to be a part of it? And initially I said no. I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time. And then like, I don't know what happened. I had some sort of epiphany and I was like, maybe I should do it. So I signed up for it and then I ended up becoming the director of the space in my sophomore year. And so I applied at the end of my freshman year and my sophomore year became director. But unfortunately, this was in 2020, so right after I was hired for the space, it closed. And then we didn't reopen until really officially last semester. So that's that project. I'm also TLS co-head for the Black Body Experience. There's a trend in the things that I do on campus. I really try to focus on things that are related to the people of color, specifically Black people. But that conference, you know, anybody can get involved in planning it, but it's really just about, you know, advancing and bringing knowledge to people who, about Black experiences to students at Bard. Last year, it was about post-grad experiences, like whether it's going straight into the work field or if you want to do grad study, stuff like that. That one I got involved because the same friend was running that project, and when they were leaving, they needed another co-head, and I was like, you know, I already followed in your footsteps for one thing, so I might as well do it for another. And currently, I am also the executive director for Student Resource Group, which I'm pretty sure y'all have heard about, whether it's like eDriver or CATS and stuff like that. So those student resources, I'm over that. And that one, through Gilson Place basically, Gilson Place became a part of SRG, so it's one of the services provided under the group, and I just applied to be a director last year, so now this year I'm holding that position. So basically, to get involved, talk to people, make friends, look on Handshake for just random positions, and honestly, like at Bard, if you want an experience or to create a position even, like getting involved and talking to people at different offices. Like every job that I've ever gotten on this campus, I have either had, besides being a PC, I've either had a connection with somebody that I literally just had to have a conversation with someone else that kind of led me to getting that position, or I found it randomly.
One project that I've been working on, well, I'm currently in the process of revamping it and just restarting it with another student leader on campus, Miala. It's an engagement program at the African Roots Center in Kingston. I got introduced into this program through a student who previously graduated. Her name was Mara. So my freshman year, I was a volunteer for the center there. The goal of the program is pretty much be able to spread literacy in in the African diaspora. And one thing that I've been working on, just being able to volunteer within that area, just being able to meet the kids within the area. It was pretty much an age range of about like 8 to 12 age range, and these are students within like Kingston area, middle school students and high school students, just within that area, within that space. And pretty much like when the pandemic came around, the entire program shut down. I was away my junior year. Mara graduated, so student engagement from Bard College within that area kind of like diminished. But now the goal is to try to like revamp that and recreate that. Like how can we ensure that like students are coming over to that center, because like that being in that space, you create like this really vibrant space where students know that they can always come to that center to just like chill, hang out, learn new things, do crazy things. And it's not only about like literacy, we also do crazy stuff. Like we actually did like science experiments. We got to make homemade ice cream, which was like really, really dope. We did step dance, and it was like really, really fun. It's just being able to like recreate that space. As well, my sophomore year, I also had the opportunity of co-head in the Muslim Student Organization on campus. One thing that me personally, Bard is a place like, as somebody said, while it is an isolating place, also a place to also learn about yourself, identity, your sense of self. And one thing for me was just my identity was not really seen here at Bard, and just being able to work on that, and work within that space to be able to create like a safe space and just a really nice space with the Muslim students on campus. That was really something really amazing. The first time we really got the chance of doing that was my sophomore year, so that was fall 2020, right? Fall 2020, spring 2021, like just be able to create that space. Like we were, during Ramadan was like really, really important, just really amazing for us. And we got to host like an Eid party on the lawn. It was just like really, really amazing. And now like when you look back at it, like MSO on campus, it's like, it's really, it's beautiful, you have this space, you have this community. We created this community within this area, within the Hudson Valley. That was really, really beautiful. And like Simone said, like, space, like, work on things like that, you just have to just make connections, get to know people. Pretty much everything that I've done on campus has been like knowing somebody, like, or just talking to somebody, like working at the student activities office as an input desk assistant. That was me getting to know Armando when he was during there. Working with Res, like, that was me getting to know Melanie and the staff in the area, Cicely as well. Cicely was previously at Res, like, before she moved to the Center for Civic Engagement. So, just pretty much getting to know people, just talking about what they're doing, like how you can get involved, like student clubs and TLS, the TLS office as well. It's really, really amazing. But yeah.
Okay, I know that we talked about like a lot of things, but like BARD makes it really easy for you to get involved. It is like, not many schools may have as many opportunities as we have. Like when we say things are student-led at BARD, like things are student-led. So if you want to create the most random club, like the most random one that can come to mind right now is there was a hookah club. So if you want to create something that's like outlandish or something that you and a few people really love, you can do that. If you want to, oh, there's a hot sauce club too. Yeah. I don't think it's still running anymore, but it did exist at one point. Yeah, if you want to do a TLS project, like going upstairs and talking to somebody in TLS, there are so many opportunities for all of you to do something amazing. And even if it's like anything that you're going to do is going to be amazing, but even if it feels small to you, it might be super impactful and create an opportunity for somebody else to feel welcome and somebody else to feel good. A lot of the things that I'm involved in right now started off as really small things that helped a small portion of the community, and then it grew to serve a larger part of the community. That's how Student Resource Group started. It started off as like a foot patrol of students that wanted to help with the security of the campus, but they weren't allowed to be on the security force, so they created their own patrol, and then it started to expand to other services, emergency driving, driving people to their appointments, like a campus Uber service type. So anything that you want to do, and I mean anything, you are literally you have the capabilities, and BARD has the resources for you to do it.
So, yes, here's Simone. Nassim. Oh, you wanted me to say something? Okay, I was going to thank you, but you can say something that's even better.
So this goes for all of you. I mean, the new students who are here. For me, since I came just previously in my previous semester, so I think the best way for you guys to make friends and do gather and really get to know each other, it's really important that you join clubs. There's a lot of clubs in here. And if you don't find any club, you can actually get the opportunity to make a club which you want according to your own way, and make an agenda that's what you want to do in this club. And then possibly there are people whom you can just ask for them to, if they're interested to join your club. And that's one way of getting involved and making friends. I mean, I as a person, when I came here, I made a club known as the African Fun Club. And through them, we arranged a lot of projects and events actually. So they were like cultural events, cultural shows, we did bonfires, and we also have plans for the fall semester, which we are going to soon announce. This is one way that when you arrange an event and invite people to your event, of course there will be people coming, and through them they'll get to know you, and you'll get to know them, you'll make friends very easily. That's true. So that's one thing.
So the really super exciting thing is that on Friday night, instead of traditional dinner, Cicely, stand up and wave, Cicely,
Cicely
has organized a block party up top on Stone Row, where we have music led by a graduate who worked with Brothers in Art for a number of years, with DJ Jazak, those of you who've heard the legend of Jazak, and grilled food and food trucks and various things like that. And we'll have a lot of information about the programs that have been so eloquently described here. If you ever want to find out more, we know there's a lot at you, being thrown at you, but I think that the broad message is there's a lot of different ways to engage, locally, nationally, globally. We're happy to help you through that. So either at our gatehouse or upstairs in the student activity office, or what have you. The reason to come to a place like Bard, I went to a large public institution, and I met one dean my entire time there. It was under unfortunate circumstances. You know, we're here to try to help you out and navigate your way and enhance your opportunities, both as students and in terms of engaging in pre-professional activities. So we're happy to reach out to you. And I think our time is up, so thank you very much.